Okay, guys, let's get started. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late logging on here. Was out on a walk, lost track of time in the rain, which is why the wet hair. But we'll get going. So, you're looking to buy a home, and what a perfect time to do so. Assuming everything fits, assuming you're not furloughed, because guys, you have a job and a secure one at that, um, and everything else that's going on in a wild time. But what makes this a great time? Well, I'm going to go through a few of the details that make this such a great time to buy a home. In part, interest rates, in part, appreciation, in part, there's a lack of inventory. And we'll go through all that. But first, you just want to buy your home. I want to tell you a quick story. So, this is where desire meets belief. I remember when I bought my first home. We were newly married. We had a young child. She was probably 5, 6 months old, and we were in an apartment. And my wife came one day and said, raising a kid in an apartment is not it. Let's go buy a home. And I was like, I don't really know what that entails because I was not in the mortgage business at that time. I was in the radio business of all things. And so we went, found the home. That part wasn't difficult. It was kind of fun, actually. Shopping for the home was fun. For me, the mortgage was the scary thing. It literally kept me up at night, staring at the ceiling in a cold sweat, going, I don't know if I'm going to be approved for this home loan. It was, at the time, I think it was $230,000. Doesn't sound like a huge loan right now, but remember that was 20 years ago, give or take, and it was. And so I was nervous, but I just kept plodding along, doing what I was told to do. I never went through a class like this. I never went to a workshop where I knew what to expect. So I was going blind every step of the way. And I don't want that for you guys. And I don't want you to stay awake at night, sweating cold sweats and worried about it. So that's why I'm glad you're here and going through this. Look, this is interesting. The average net worth of a homeowner is 44 times greater than the net worth of a renter. So you want to be a homeowner. And one of the reasons is you want to be the big dog, not that little dog. Both of them are cute. Both of them are great. But that you really do build a net worth when you own a home. And I want to go through why that is in just a couple minutes. But, oops, sorry. There. My slides are going nuts on me. Let's try this. Okay, that works. Sorry about that, guys. You can tell it's live. So this is a chart that it's from 2016. For some reason, they do this every 3 years, but I haven't seen 2019 come out yet. I've been looking for it. So we'll just go off the most recent one that I have, this study, which the government does, and it's the average net worth of a homeowner in blue and the average net worth of a renter way down here in red. You can see that renter doesn't fluctuate much. It fluctuates a little bit up and down, but it was at the time $5,200 compared to $231,000 net worth of a homeowner. Why is that? Well, let's look. I'm going to use the key. There we go. So you can see up here, if you're buying versus renting. I took the median rent in the area, which is about $1,514 per month. And I added in some renter's insurance just to insure your stuff that's in the home, right? Most people have that. And took the average, or the median rather, home price, which is about $280,000. And I'm comparing the two. At first, if you bought a median home price at $280,000 as opposed to renting the median at $1,514 per month, you would be paying a little bit more because of taxes and insurance. However, we know two things happen. Rents don't stay the same, they go up. So I'm saying rents increase by 3.5% per year, and I'm being very conservative on what the home price does. Home prices have been going up like 5-6% a year. That's not sustainable. It won't keep going like that. So I said, well, let's average, and by the way, since 1950, they've averaged 3% appreciation per year. But I said, well, what if we fall short of that? What if we average just shy of 2% per year? What will that look like? So I'm trying to be very conservative on these numbers. And this is what it looks like. By year 9, which is the average time a home buyer is in a home, is 9 years. By year 9, the cash flow difference has been almost $16,000. And look at this. I will go go here. This is what it will look like. I'm going to move me out of the way a little bit. So this is what it would look like. You can see if you're only in the home very short term, I wouldn't do it. Because in the first couple of years, you're going to lose money. Why? Because you had closing costs to get into the home, right? And you have the 6% commission to the realtor to sell the home to get out of it again. So I'm factoring all that in. So by year 4, you're positive. So once you're there for 3.5, 4 years, you're good. And like I say, the average homeowner is in a home for 9 years. And in that time, you would gain $90,000 net worth over that time. The longer you're in the home, the more net worth because you're paying down the mortgage. And that's equity gain and the appreciation gain. So the amortization gain is about $47,000. That's how much you pay down the mortgage. And the appreciation gain is about $53,000. Again, conservatively at that nearly 2% appreciation per year. We've been going at 5 or 6. That's not sustainable. 3 is the median, somewhere in that range. Okay, but what's more, for me, as important as building wealth by owning a home is just, that's where memories are made. I mean, granted, we make our memories wherever we are, right? But there's something special about being in your own home. You know it's yours, you own it, it's security, and those memories just are richer for some reason. They just are, and I want that for you as well. So what are we going to look at here? I'm going to go fairly quickly through these things, and a couple of them we might even skip. But choosing the right real estate agent, the right lender, the home shopping process, that's very important, especially right now, and I'll talk about why. And then before you make an offer, the pre-qual, credit scores, and then your debt to income ratio. So let's take a look at some of these things. Finding the right agent. Now, the agent who recommended you to this, if you were referred here by a real estate agent, oh, I see more joining us. Welcome if you just joined us. If you were referred tonight by a real estate agent, only a few have an affiliate code, I call it, to send out the invite. And those are some of the best top agents in town. So if you were referred by someone, I would definitely consider using that agent because they really are the best. They sell more homes and they're more empathetic than some other agents, right? They really care about what the home buyer wants, not just getting to their commission, which some agents are like that. The right lender. I hope that right lender will be me because that's what I do for a living, but choose the right one for you. You want to make sure that the basics are covered. Does the lender have a track record of closing on time and with no bad surprises, right? Fees that just exploded beyond what you had expected or something like that. We absolutely do. We don't miss any closing dates and closing time and it's all. But you also want someone who walks with you along the way. Lots of communication, lots of education so that you're sure of what the next step is, what your next step is, what the next step in the process is, and you're sure that you're doing the right thing and things are moving. So my team and I try to do that very, very well. So if we're the right fit, that'd be awesome. If not, find the right fit. The home shopping process. Now let's talk for a minute about this. In a buyer's market, that's where sellers are just begging for a buyer to come and give them an offer because there's too many homes on the market and there's not enough buyers to fit all those homes and the buyer rules the day. You can kind of take your time and haphazard, just look at homes and take your time and decide. But this is not a buyer's market. We are absolutely, definitely not in a buyer's market. We're in a seller's market. What that means is if the home is priced right and it shows well, it's going to get an offer right away and it's probably going to get multiple offers. So if you're in the market for a home, and you are, do a new home wish list. Really sit down with your realtor, sit down with your spouse if you're buying together, and just map out what's essential in a home and what would be nice. If it had this, it'd be nice, but it's not really essential. What that will do is help you recognize the right home when you walk through it or do a virtual tour, which they're doing these days. But it'll help you recognize the right home and be ready to snap it and make the offer and hopefully get your offer accepted and get that home. I can't stress that enough. It happens all the time right now, not in the higher end. So once you go over 5 to 600,000. It's hard to pinpoint that exactly. Once you get above, say, 600,000, it's not really a seller's market. But anything under 5 for sure, 450 at least, it is. So I'd just be prepared if that's your price point, especially 300 and below. Wow, you're going to get multiple offers. So be prepared, and it's okay. You need a good real estate agent as well who can help construct an offer that will be accepted and present it to the listing agent in a way that will help it be accepted. And some do and some don't. Okay, so I get asked this. What the economy's in turmoil, right? The stock market just today finally fell almost 1,900 points, the Dow. And finally, I say it because I can't believe it's been this high for this long with everything going on in the economy. Furloughs, foreclosures, you got COVID, you got riots, you got everything. And so I get asked naturally, are we going to see a repeat of 2008 in housing where the housing market crashes? No. The simple answer is no. Maybe in New York City, but not here. And I say New York because it's a separate entity. Here's the average home prices. They have been steadily rising, but not above the trend, right? Which is nice. This is more important. Listing inventory. If you look back at, I don't go back, I only go back to 2013 on this one. But if you go way back here, we had a lot of homes on the market. And look at it now. This is from February of this year. And I'm telling you, home builders have been building less during this lockdown period. And some homeowners who would have put their home on the market aren't, because they don't want people walking through the homes with the virus, with the whatever. So inventory has dropped even lower than this. And when inventory is that low, it becomes a seller's market and it props up home prices. But also, look at this. The average rent back in 2010 was, what is that, about $1,300 a month. Now it's about $1,600 a month. It's becoming unaffordable, and it's driving people to want to buy homes more and more. So all of these things and more are sustaining the home prices. I don't see them going down for the next several years, at least. The case can be made that when baby boomers start going into nursing homes, they'll flood the market with inventory, but that's several years off. Could happen, I don't know. We're more worried about the next 5 to 7 years in my book right now. Before you make an offer, do a research. This is something you can discuss with your real estate agent. What you can ask for. You can ask for closing costs as well as the price reduction maybe, which isn't happening much. You can ask for closing costs, and that does happen often, that the seller pays all or part of your closing costs. You can ask for repairs, appliance. A home warranty is kind of neat. That way the big systems like heating and air system, whatever, if it goes out in the first year, the home warranty is an insurance policy that covers replacing that or fixing it, minus the deductible, right? But it's cheaper than paying for the whole thing out of pocket. Pre-qualification. What are we looking for there? So what we're looking for is really, where are you working? Have you been working in the same line of work for at least 2 years? Doesn't have to be the same job. You can be brand new on the job, just similar line of work. And W-2, and are you full-time or part-time? If you're part-time, we need you on the job for 2 years. If you're self-employed, we need you self-employed for 2 years. If you're a W-2 employee, we need you on the job for a week, or not even on a job yet, just an offer. But we do need it to your history of where you have been working. So do you have any money saved? What do you plan to do with the property? Live in it, rent it, whatever. And we ask all these questions during the pre-qualification. That's pretty simple. I think you get that. But this is more important. What kind of loan program can you get and qualify for? Here's the main loan programs out there. There's conventional loan programs. There's USDA, which is rural housing, which is 100% financing, no down payment. There's VA, if you're a veteran or active duty, or work for the DOD. It's also 100% financing. It's a great loan. Love VA loans. FHA is easy to get into, easy to qualify for, not quite as much now as back in March because a lot went on in the mortgage market, but it's still easy and a great rate. I just locked an FHA loan 30-year fixed at 2.5% today. And then there's some state programs, and a new one that just came out Monday for this year is Palmetto Heroes. It's a $10,000 down payment assistance program that gives you $10,000 toward your down payment if you're in public service, teacher, firefighter, EMS, nurse, and new this year, I think this is kind of funny, new this year to qualify for the Palmetto Heroes program are grocery store workers and delivery drivers, kind of out there on the front, essential workers type of thing, I think. Now, that program does have drawbacks. You're going to pay all the $10,000 back if you don't stay in the home for 10 or 20 years, depending on your income levels. So go into it eyes wide open. It's not free money. It ties you to the money for up to 20 years. So here's the down payments. 3.5% for FHA, 3% for conventional. A lot of people think it's 20% down. It is not, absolutely not. 3% down. That's all that's needed for conventional, and then 0 for USDA and VA. USDA, I'll mention, it's also called rural housing, as I said before, because the property has to be considered rural. So if you're buying downtown Charleston, property is not going to qualify for USDA. It's not rural. If you're buying in Goose Creek, oddly enough, nothing is considered rural in Goose Creek. But if you're buying in Monk's Corner or outer area of Somerville, like by Summers Corner, that area, it does qualify. And there's other areas around, of course. Now, a little about credit scores. They've become more important because of what I mentioned. There was a seizing up of the mortgage market back in March. It's flattening out again now, but everyone has raised their minimum credit scores. We used to be able to do FHA and VA at 580 credit. I don't think anyone can do that now. It's 620 or 640. Some banks have gone to 680 minimum, but it's gone up, is my point. So what that means is a lot of times if you're at, say, a 619 credit, where we could do the loan a couple months ago, now we have to do a rescore. And I can run a report and show you exactly what to do, what to pay down, what to change, whatever, in order to boost that score. And then we do a rapid rescore. And we physically push the credit bureaus to update that credit score. Pretty simple process. And we're doing that a lot more now because it's become more important. Excellent credit. The best rate on conventional loans you qualify for is 740 and above, up to 850. 680 to 740 is good. You're going to get a good rate on conventional. You're going to get a very good rate on VA or FHA. 620 to 680, you're going to see a bump in the rate a little bit. It's going to be a little bit higher. And the PMI. Well, not on FHA, but on conventional, the PMI goes a little bit higher too. So ideally we want 680, but it's not a big deal. It's not a big change if you're at 640, for example. Cool. What goes into credit? I'll say just a word here because everyone wonders about their credit score. New credit, that 10%, let me point to it. The 10% new credit is inquiries. Everyone worries about credit inquiries. They will affect your score, but usually by anywhere from 0 to 2 points because it's the least thing that affects your score. Length of credit history is important. As payment history is the most important. Obviously, if you make your payments on time and there's a history of that, your score is going to be much higher than if you miss payments 30-day late every so often and all that. The amounts owed are key. For the rescore, more often than not, this is what we attack. And by attacking, I mean if you have a credit card that's near your limit, it's going to really reduce your credit score. So you want to be under 30% usage. So if you have, let's just say a small credit card with a $300 limit, you don't want the balance to be over $100 ever because it will hurt your credit score. And go up from there. If you have a $5,000 credit card, you can do the math. Keep it under 30% and that will boost your credit score immensely. Over 30% will hurt your score. And length of credit history is why we say don't close credit cards or anything like that if you've had them for years prior to closing on the home, because that erases your length of credit history. So it hurts your score. Make sense? Now, a little about debt ratios. We calculate debt ratios based on your gross income. So if you make $60,000 a year, you know, it's $5,000 a month, but your take home might be $4,200 a month after taxes and whatnot. we still count $5,000 a month. Why? Because there's tax benefits for owning a home, not as much anymore, but there used to be more, but we still calculate it off gross income. And we just divide that by the debt. The debt is the new home, the cost of owning this home per month, including taxes, insurance, all that, plus anything that shows up on your credit report with a minimum monthly payment. Here it is: car loans, student loans, credit card, minimum payments. Pretty much it's everything on your credit report, and that's it, except if you pay alimony or child support. We add that in as well. Okay. A lot of people get into a home and they don't plan for it right. I guess that's the best way to put it. And so they're not successful owning a home. In other words, they build wealth because you do owning a home, but they're always kind of paycheck to paycheck. So really, really, if you're a Dave Ramsey fan, you're into budgeting, I admire you, you're awesome. If you're not, this is the simplest budget ever, but it works. It just works. It's a 30-40-20-10. You take your income. Let's say you're self-employed, right? They don't withhold taxes. You're not W-2. 30%, whether you are W-2 or not, goes to the government in taxes. It may not be all federal income tax, but some kind of tax, it's going to go to the government. So that part is Uncle Sam's. 40% of your income is what you have to live on, to pay all your bills, to live, to do whatever. 20%, and this is where people get it wrong. If you get this right, you will be very, very happy and very, very wealthy when you're ready to retire. 20% goes to investments. And the first investment of that 20% is paying off consumer debt, credit cards, student loans, whatever. I consider investing because your return is huge. If you're paying 16% on a credit card, that's 16% return when you pay that thing off. After your debt is paid off, except for the mortgage, the 20% goes to some investment vehicle. Savings, first of all, you want 6 months worth of expenses saved in the bank, a separate account that you don't touch ever except for emergencies, right? And then it goes toward 401k, an IRA, some other investment account, something that has a return, right? If you do that, and those who do that and buy a home with that in mind and saving, carving that out, that their 20% goes to, I have numbers off here. Interesting. But if you do that right, you will be very, very happy owning a home, and you'll be very, very happy years from now when you look at your retirement accounts and they have $2.5 million in it. So I want that for you as well. What's a mortgage payment? It's principal and interest. That's your mortgage payment itself. You're paying the principal amount you borrowed back over time, plus the interest that's being charged on that loan. And the interest is amazing right now. I mean, literally, we're locking loans in 30-year fixed rate loans in the 2s. Sometimes 3s. I mean, if your credit score is a little bit lower, it'll be in the 3s, which is still not bad. Not at all. So it's principal and interest, plus property taxes, plus homeowners insurance, and any other insurance, PMI if you have it, flood insurance if you're in a flood zone, that type of thing. And I'll walk through that with a payment once we get pre-approved. And I'm going to skip this one. It's pretty much the same thing I just had. Mortgage checklist, what you're going to need, income and asset documentation. Income, all the stuff from your work, W-2s, pay stubs, asset information, any retirement accounts, your bank account, your savings account, whatever. Statements for 60 days, and you can see the other stuff. We'll get that. It's really simple. It's nothing out of the ordinary that we're going to require. In fact, if you do the application online now, you can key in your bank account information like you're logging into your bank account. I can't see it, of course, for security reasons, but it pulls everything from your bank account. We don't even need bank statements. So we're really trying to cut down on the paperwork and doing a pretty good job of it, I will say. Benefits of buying a home. So you are ready to buy a home. I hope you are. And I'm going to take questions in a minute. But what's the benefit of buying a home? Well, no more renting. Let's say you're paying $1,500 a month. That doesn't go to the landlord anymore. You build wealth. We showed how you can build about $90,000 of wealth simply by owning a home over the next 9 years. And that was conservative numbers. and you create memories. And that's the part that I love, and I think you will too. So what's it take to get approved? Nothing. Let's just get you pre-approved and get you working toward a home so that you can kiss your landlord goodbye and start building wealth by owning a home instead of paying your landlord's mortgage off for him. So that's me. If I can be of help, let me know. I'm happy to. Pleasure spending time with you this evening. Okay, couple of questions, it looks like. Do I think rates are going to go lower? It is actually possible that they go slightly lower. They can't go much lower because the lowest they could be because of costs of manufacturing a home loan is about 2.25%. That's the absolute lowest they could be. And we're real close to that. So they actually could go slightly lower. I wouldn't wait because they bounce around. Just today, for example, I locked one at 2.5%. By the end of the day, we were at 2.625. Doesn't sound like a big move, and it's not, but it moved up. And that's where once we can get a really good rate and lock you in for 30 years, let's just do it. I wouldn't risk. I wouldn't play the market, so to speak, trying to get an eighth lower in rate. It's just not worth it. You just don't save that much to do that. So anyway, rates are super low. They're at all-time lows. So take advantage. That's what I would say. Stock market's crashing. Do you see a housing crash with that? That's a good question. I kind of addressed that at the beginning. I don't. And the reason why, I'll give you a couple other reasons why. One is the first-time buyer, by statistics, is 33 years old. When someone's 33 years old, they have the highest probability of buying their first home. Doesn't mean you can't buy it at 21 or 44, but 33 is the median first-time homebuyer age. And if you look at birth rates, they're continuing up for the next several years. In other words, 33 years ago, for the next several years, more and more births, more and more people were born. And therefore, they're becoming 33 years old in greater numbers over the next several years, which increases demand for housing. That's on the one hand. And on the other, yeah, I don't see a housing crash at all because we have a lot of forbearances. A lot of 4.3 million homeowners put their mortgages in forbearance, meaning they're not making payments and they're okay with that for 3 months, and then they can extend another 3 if they need to or whatever. But the government has made it very clear to mortgage lenders when the homeowner wants out of forbearance and can make their payment again, don't collect all the payments, just tack them on to the end of the mortgage. And so I think that'll happen. So a lot of people were thinking, wow, this forbearance thing could be a wave of foreclosures coming and crash the housing market. I don't think so, because I don't think lenders will require 3 or 6 or more months payments made all at once. They'll just tack it on the end of the mortgage. And finally, because housing, well, 2 more things. Housing inventory is at a really low point as far as regard demand. And more people have equity. Remember in 2008, leading up to 2007 and 8, anyone could finance a home with 100% financing with no income, no assets, nothing really. And everyone could do 100% financing, so no one had equity in the home. Now there's a couple 100% financing programs, but they're full documentation. We document the income, the ability to repay and all that. But most people have quite a bit of equity in their home. And they're going to protect that because that's wealth. That's their wealth, right? And so they're going to protect it. So for all those reasons, and I can go into a couple more even, no, I don't think we're going to see a housing crash. In fact, it's one of the shining points in the economy, and it will be going forward for the next several years. And I think rates will stay low for a long time as well, which will help. Helps demand. And I think that is all the questions that we have. Guys, thanks for joining me this evening. I hope it gave you some good information to get ready to buy your home. And if I can help, there's my contact information. You have my email invites to this, so you just email me back if you need to, and I'll be happy to help with whatever we can toward getting you ready to buy your home. Thanks, guys. Have a good evening.